What's up guys, DUBB. Welcome to my channel. So I got the 1ZZ motor all put back together and I need to install it. I need to figure out where to connect the chain to it so I can use the engine hoist to lift it up. I'm thinking maybe put an anchor right here, run the chain all the way through this side right here. I just make sure it's balanced out correctly. And before I can put the engine in, I need to remove the torque converter and replace the torque converter seals on the transmission. The torque converter gonna have some oil in it, so carefully take it out so don't make a big old mess. And there's oil inside. Good luck taking it out. When you try to pour into a container, somehow you can only get a little bit out of it. So I'm just gonna leave those oil in there. Then later on I'm gonna drain the transmission itself and top it off. Carefully take it out. Oil catcher down there in case I'm leaked out. That's pretty clean. And a lot of times, most likely you can't get it from the dealership on the first day. They got a special order it. I got my on the second day. Not too bad at all. And it went around like $13 for OEM Toyota seal. So this is my original seal, about 23 years old, and even though it's still good, went and got another one from the dealership right here, and the part number is I'll put in a link below. Before you take it out, make sure it's the same size. Just go over it. Yeah, it's about the same size. Well, it is the same size. And so the seal itself is flush to the metal outside casing right here. So when I put it back, I'll make sure I put it back in the same way. It does not require any kind of glue to put it back. This, if you push it in there, if this didn't build a lot of pressure, the oil will leak from the side here first before you can actually push this thing out. This is a 1.5 inch PVC coupler, and it will fit perfectly over the seal, and just enough space for me to use a rubber mallet to push it in. If this thing is too long, you can actually add another extension to it. Just have another short PVC pipe attached to it. You can attach, make it a little longer. But I think this coupler here will do just fine. Let me go ahead and remove the old seal. Pretty easy to take off. And let's go and double check it again. Identical. The old seal itself is still in good shape, besides me damaging this part right here, but good idea to replace with a new one. Just clean off the metal casing right here, make sure it's getting dirt thing off of it. While you have the seal off, you're going to take a look inside, see where the two slots are for the torque converter to go in. Here you can see a notch right there. This one at about 1 o'clock, and on the opposite side should be the other tab right there. You can see right there, you can see a little slot right there. So it's important this thing got to line up with the torque converter. If not, then you can cause damage to your torque converter and transmission. When you bolt the engine and the transmission together and they're not lined up, you can put a lot of pressures in there and you can cause damages. So right there you see the tap coming out. You need to line up with these two notches right here. Go ahead and insert the new seal. Make sure it's nice and even. Alright, the seal is back on there, and here's my torque converter. Make sure these notch are, it was like 1 o'clock and about 1 o'clock on top. So I'm going to line up as close as I can on it. Now it's on the biggest shaft sleeve. Then I'll wiggle it back and forth. It should lock onto the groove. There we go. It's in. And that's it. Next thing I do is install the motor in there and bolt them together. Alright, and that's how you replace torque converter seal and put the torque converter back in there. I got the motor all rebuilt, and hook the chain to it, use a cherry picker and dump it in here. And I have one jack to lift up the car a little bit so I can slide the cherry picker, the two legs coming out, and this jack right here underneath the oil pan allow me to manipulate the height of the engine itself. So you got two dowels right here, you got one right here and you got one on the back. So the dowel go onto the second hole. I just put a bolt in here to start out with. So this I make sure everything line up. Then once I get another one lined up, then I put another bolt in there and keep working at it and try to line up all these bolts in here. These all loosely. I got another bolt right here on top. I got one back there, and you have another dowel behind this engine right here, and then you'll be lined up. So I went ahead and put another bolt back there too. I got another bolt back here. So right now the engine can basically slide back and forth a little bit, and I don't want to tighten one side. I'll try to evenly tighten them up, so this way I'll pull the engine that direction. So right now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 bolts in there already, lining everything up. The dowels on this side right here, that part is also lined up. The back one back there, I'm not sure is all the way in yet or not. So if I start tightening this one right here, right now the engine's kind of leaning up slightly on this side. So if I tighten a little bit on this side right here and tighten a little bit, it should squeeze them together, and I will release the jack slowly and let that part fall down slightly. And the angle is very little, so I know the flywheel will line up exactly with the torque converter, because the gap is pretty even. So let me go ahead and slowly tighten it and put them together. If I try to tighten it and to see a gap, and then that means something's not lining up correctly, and that shouldn't be the problem. And once I get that lined up, then I'll start going ahead and install some of these parts here, and try to put all these parts back in there, and followed by the engine mount. Right now I got a lot of loose parts hanging here, and you can see I put the exhaust manifold loosely here. This way I don't need to try to squeeze it in this gap right there. It probably won't fit anyway, so I planned that ahead already. And I do have the shield right there. The shield should clear because the engine mount is not mounted yet. And once I get some of these bolts secure, I'm gonna start putting the steering pump on, and followed by the intake manifold, and followed by the alternator and the AC compressor and the starter and engine mount. I probably could install the belt first, then engine mount, whatever's easier. Alright, let me go ahead and tighten those bolts on top and squeeze the engine and the transmission together. These ones are loose, I can hand tighten it. And so you can get the back one. It's also loose. I can use my fingers, tighten them as much as I can. Most important thing, I want to make sure those dowels are in it properly. As you can see, the gap is evenly tightened up. I can actually use my finger to tighten it a little more. Coming in. The dowel is in, lined up correctly. We go tighten it back a little more on the other 17mm. Alright, I can go ahead and release the jack. Go and tighten the rest up. Since it's a little hard to access with all the wire in it, I'm going to tighten all the way down. Go ahead and remove these bolts right here. I don't need it. I don't need it for now. This is for the starter, and I got 2 more bolts on the bottom. So I got a short bolt on the bottom on this side. I'll tighten it up. And I should have one on the opposite side of it. So I got my engine installed. Everything's bolted in, and I went ahead and hook up most of the wires and the water hose, all the electrical stuff. And I made a huge mistake. You got 2 of these bolts right here, go through the engine block to secure the steering pump, and I just shoved them in there temporarily so I know where they belong to. So when I put in this direction, I was able to get the bottom one out. But the top one, you can see it's right there. And here's the top one right there. No matter how I try, I even dropped the whole engine down, and the frame is in the way. I can't get it out. And I had to unbolt every one of those bolts that secure the engine to the transmission, and I have a jack on the bottom right there, and it still won't come out. Not low enough. Right now the whole engine itself is basically sitting on, is resting onto the frame pretty much. I cannot get it off. Now I'm stuck. Try to lift this engine either up or tilt it sideways somehow so I can have access to remove that bolt right there. One tiny little mistake caused me so much headache. So this bolt is going to go this direction, and the nut is on this side, so this there's a space where you slide this way, but not this way. So in case you decide to put the bolts in there temporarily, don't do like what I did. So after separating the engine from the transmission again, I was able to remove that bolt that I actually put in there by mistake, and everything put back together. And so far I got everything hooked up except for a few items. I got the alternator, the AC compressor, the power steering in the back all secured down, the starter's back. Hook up all the electrical, and along with the fuel rail. I'm gonna leave this loose for now until I put the intake manifold back, and some vacuum hose I gotta reinstall along with the air box. Put the serpentine belt back in there, and I need to put the engine mount back in here along with the cruise control box. After that, pretty much all completed. Oh, by the way, while I have the engine apart, I went ahead and replaced the AC compressor. The old one is pretty banged up. I mean, it still work, but while I'm at it, go ahead and replace it. There's a little bow on this side right here, but it works fine. And of course, the previous time when I tried to fixing something over here, end up breaking the radiator, so the radiator also new. Yeah, so a lot of new parts in there. Let me continue on and finish putting everything back together. This is pretty boring stuff that you probably know how to do already. Let me go ahead and finish it up, and I'll come back and put oil in it along with coolant and start it up. Alright, it took me a minute. Got everything put back together except for the airbox and some of these components in this area, and got stuck on this part right here. I got the reservoir, the lower hose go somewhere, can't figure it out, so I'm gonna go online so you can find some information as far as what this hose goes to. Can't be too far, you know, you can only stretch so far. Don't see a connection anywhere. So this hose right here gotta be in some way in the vicinity of this area, because the length of the hose is not, you know, it's pretty short, so we gotta go into somewhere in front of this engine block. Well, I did find out where that hose go to. It connected is connected to this pipe right here, and I had to take out the intake manifold along with other things. That was a pain in the butt. Anyway, let me go and put the parts back in there again. Alright, finally put everything back together. I believe all the electrical and all the vacuum hoses are all plugged in. Got new oil on it. I went and topped it up with new transmission oil, and also new coolant, and also got a new water pump in there. Then I'm going to start it up. First time. Keep my fingers crossed. So far it sounds pretty good. There was some oil from the prior oil leak was being burned off. So far it sounds pretty good. So far everything, looks good. I do need to top it up with more coolant and check all the other fluid, make sure everything's topped off, and so far so good.